everyone, I'm Mrs. McEwen, or as most of you know me, I go by Miss Bree in my preschool room 101. Hi guys, I miss you all so much, we all do. First and foremost, that's what I want you to know. We miss you guys so much. I hope you are trying to find the good in all of this and get your schoolwork done, and I really hope that these days are going by for you. But I want you all to know that we just miss you terribly, and we cannot wait to be back in the classroom with you. So today I have the privilege of getting to read a story to you. But before I do that, I wanted to introduce you to my chicken Magnolia. This is Magnolia. She's a very fancy chicken that has her own set of pearls. So Magnolia and I thought we could share a special story with you. But before we do that, I wanted to talk to you about eggs, because eggs are going to be one of the key things in our story. So I bet most of you are really familiar with white eggs that you find in the grocery store, although you can find brown eggs as well. I know this is what a lot of people get, but I wanted to share with you that my chickens lay different colored eggs. Some of them lay really light brown eggs. I have other ones that actually lay eggs that are closer to the color of them. That's a little bit of a darker brown, a little orangey. But just yesterday, you guys, one of our chickens laid her very first egg, and she lays green eggs. Have you ever seen a green egg? It's super cool. I don't even want to crack it open because it's just so beautiful. So, with that being said, I want you to listen in the story to hear about how important the eggs are, and the key word is listen, because that's the main concept in our story that we're going to read tonight. But anyway, I just wanted to share my favorite chicken Magnolia with you before I get ready to do our story, and to show you the story that Mags and I have picked. Today, we have decided that we are going to read
Gregory, the Noisiest and Strongest Boy in Granger's Grove by Robert Bright. Gregory could run faster than the fastest rabbit and jump higher than the highest haystack and holler so loud you had to hold your hat. Gregory was the strongest and noisiest boy in Granger's Grove, and oh, was he proud of himself. Now, Gregory had a grandma who lived in a little house in the hollow, and she made the best griddle cakes in Granger's Grove, and oh, how Gregory loved Grandma's griddle cakes. So one day he ran hooting and hollering to Grandma's little house in the hollow. Grandma could hear him coming a mile away. "Make me some griddle cakes, Grandma, because I'm as strong and hungry as a horse," Gregory howled. Grandma had to put her hands to her ears. "Gracious, Gregory, but that was loud. Of course I'll make you griddle cakes. But before I make you griddle cakes, isn't there something you'd like to do for me?" It was just some little chore she had in mind. But Gregory thought she wanted to see how strong he was. So he went hooting and hollering up Hogan's Hill, where there was a honey bear looking for honey. And that honey bear was the huffiest honey bear in Granger's Grove. Gregory hopped on the back of that honey bear and held on. Gregory held on to that honey bear until he took him to Grandma's little house in the hollow. And that honey bear sat in Grandma's hammock and huffed. But a honey bear that sat in her hammock and huffed wasn't what Grandma needed. "Now, Gregory," she said, "I know you're a fine, strong boy, but there's something else I want you to do." And Grandma was going to tell him, but Gregory was off hooting and hollering to Mr. Murphy's meadow, where there was a mule that nobody could move. And that was the most mulish mule in Granger's Grove. Gregory hopped on the back of that mule and wouldn't get off. First that mule kicked, and then he sat down. But Gregory got behind that mule and pushed. He pushed that sitting down mule all the way to Grandma's little house in the hollow. And that mule sat on Grandma's welcome mat and moped. But a mulish mule that sat on her welcome mat and moped wasn't what Grandma had in mind. "Now, Gregory, if you'll just stop and listen, because for griddle cakes, I have to beat batter, and all I want is some eggs for my batter." "Oh, eggs, Grandma? Why didn't you tell me?" Gregory ran roaring up Ridley's Ridge, where there was an eagle's eyrie with 3 big eagle's eggs. and those were the biggest eggs in Granger's Grove. Gregory put those eggs in his hat and went hooting and hollering all the way down to Grandma's little house in the hollow. When Grandma saw those big eggs, she sighed. Now, Gregory, whatever would I do with Big Eagle's eggs in my batter when what I need is little eggs fresh laid by my own 3 little hens? Oh, little eggs, Grandma, is that all? Gregory went hooting into the hen yard. Lay me some eggs, he hollered at Grandma's 3 little hens. Now those hens were the best layers in Granger's Grove, but Gregory's hollering scared the gray hen green, and it scared the brown hen blue, and the speckled hen came out in big spots all over, and not one egg could they lay for Gregory. Then Gregory was so mad, he hollered and he jumped, and then he jumped and he hollered. And then he jumped so high, you couldn't hear him holler anymore. At that, the honey bear stopped huffing, and the mulish mule stopped moping, and that bear and that mule and Grandma all waited for Gregory to come down. It was lucky that Gregory came down in Grandma's well. Gregory landed with a splash that was the biggest splash in Granger's Grove. They all helped to haul Gregory out of Grandma's well. Grandma sat Gregory to dry before her stove in her little house in the hollow, and there wasn't a hoot nor a holler out of him. Grandma went to the hen yard to talk to her hens, and for the first time, Gregory listened. Grandma's voice was as mild as May. Gregory watched her from the window, gentling her hens, and she was as gentle as June. And those 3 little hens sat right down in the straw and laid enough eggs to fill Grandma's big brown basket. Grandma made batter from the fresh-laid eggs and poured it into the hot pan. And when she had browned her cakes on one side, she tossed them to brown them on the other. And those griddle cakes were so fluffy, they floated. Then the honey bear wiggled his nose, and Mr. Murphy's mule twitched his muzzle, and that bear and that mule followed their noses right into Grandma's little house in the hollow. Sit down and eat them while they're hot, said Grandma, and she smiled at them all. Now the honey bear ate 3 stacks of Grandma's griddle cakes with honey, and Mr. Murphy's mule ate 3 stacks with molasses. But Gregory, he ate 3 stacks with strawberry jam. And when they were finished, the honey bear gave Grandma a big honey bear hug, and Mr. Murphy's mule gave Grandma a big molasses smile. But Gregory gave Grandma a strawberry jam kiss, and that was the sweetest kiss Grandma ever had. The end.